Hi everyone, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Sacha. It's an excellent question. Sacha says, there are some people that always seem to be really happy, and not just for show, but they're truly happy, very optimistic, always finding the positive in everything. It seems to just come easily for them. Are some people just naturally inclined to be like that all the time? Can we as humans actually go from a depressive state to one day being on the other end of the spectrum and be that way too, to have a joyful, happy disposition? Why does it seem like for some people, their internal snow globe is always settled, and for others, it seems like it's constantly in motion? I know that much of the old school thinking was that people can't change, but based on the increasing research in neuroplasticity, I know that's not true. At the same time, some people appear so scarred that it seems almost impossible that change can happen for them. So it's a great question, Sacha. Thank you for sending it. And, the first thing, and this is such a plug, but it fits, so I'm going to put it in. This is exactly what my workshops are about. There's one here in Michigan in late May, early June, and there's one in London in late June. And they're about transformation, what I'm calling, it's not my phrase, but what I'm calling transformation along this vertical dimension as opposed to a horizontal dimension. So we change in horizontal ways all the time through life, and that's where we are here and then we learn something maybe and we're here. Or we're depressive, as you say, and then we have a nice thought, or we make a change in our lives, or we have some mindset shift or something, and then we're here. So we've moved along this horizontal dimension, and that happens all the time in life. We grow up, we learn things, we become aware, we learn those little tricks I just mentioned, whatever it is, and we move along this horizontal dimension, and that's just one way that change happens, right? And it's just one way that change happens. Another way that change happens is along a vertical dimension. And that's, I think, really what's at the root of your question here, what you're asking about. And that's where we don't work at it step by step by step in this horizontal way so much as we see something within us shifts. And suddenly, instead of life looking this way, life looks this way. So it's not, I learned one thing, I saw one thing, I changed one thing. It's, this is my experience of life, and now this is my experience of life along this vertical dimension. And can people go from a certain personality type, a depressive kind of person, to a happy and naturally happy, joyful kind of person? Yes, but we aren't going to do it ourselves. As far as I can see, I could be wrong about that, but as far as I can see, we're not going to do the right things to make that happen. What's going on there is that we've seen something that's shifted all kinds of things, and to just kind of put some sort of label on it, what it's shifted is the way we see life, like the way we see ourselves, the way we see life, what we come to feel. Even saying that doesn't sound right, because it's putting words around something that's so indescribable. But when something within us shifts, everything can look different. Now, some really everyday I don't know if they're everyday, but common examples of this are like, something major happens in someone's life. They get a diagnosis, or they get a new job. It could be good or bad, right? Like, we see things happen, and suddenly you're in the same life for the most part in this moment, but everything looks different. Those are examples of kind of vertical change, and that does happen for people. Now, your question, I think, about like people who feel this way and then kind of go to really have this joyful, naturally happy experience of life. The thing that pops out at me the most, one, it can happen because our moods, our personality, our disposition in this way, it isn't as deep and fundamental as it seems. it seems like part of us. And you're absolutely right when you say that people are kind of, you don't exactly say this, but I know this is what you're referring to, is that people are kind of born with different temperaments, right? Any parent knows this because we see it in our children. We treat them the same way best as we can, and they have different temperaments. And often, we tell stories, I don't know if we make this up or not, but it goes from day one. It goes from in the womb even. I've heard people say like, oh, this kid was always busy even before they were born, and then they came out and they're always busy. Like, we might be making that up, but the point is, absolutely, we appear to be born with certain temperaments that are there for us. And so, yeah, probably, that makes sense, right? That some people are just naturally blow things off more and live in the moment, and they might have a nicer experience. Other people naturally tend to kind of be more in their heads and think things all the time and are very analytical or just in their heads in a way that's sort of critical, and maybe they don't have as nice of an experience in general. But that is changeable because that is surface level. Even when we're born with that, that's not deep in the way that we talk here, that I talk here when I address these questions. It's not that kind of deep. It's personality kind of deep, which means it's thought kind of deep, which means it's not deep. It's not that deep. It's habitual. It's very practiced. It's stuff that we come to associate with and identify with, and that's what makes it seem deep. So it's when we grow up and everyone around us, and we say it too, says, oh, you're the shy one, you're the funny one, oh, you're so sensitive. We start hearing that stuff from a very early age, innocently, by all the people around us, and then we start seeing it, and then we become blind to the exceptions, and we become hyper-focused on the cases that agree with that confirm that theory. And that's in many ways how this personality stuff and these traits, and even something like being a depressive kind of person versus a joyful kind of person, can start to take root, at least how it can start to be reinforced and start to feel so much like us. But to see how that's working, to see that when our mind settles down, we're not any of that. We're not happy, we're not sad person, we're not happy person, we're not shy person, we're not this person, we're not that person. We're just alive. We're just here with stuff flowing through us, feeling all kinds of stuff. That is our natural state for everyone. Now, the stuff flowing through, can it tend to be more depressive for some people than others and tend to be lighter? Absolutely. But again, that doesn't lock us into anything. That's just what's moving through. If we can kind of see, oh, I'm just a human being who's alive here, and all kinds of stuff shows up within me, and none of it's me, you will be amazed what kind of change is possible. You will be amazed what happens when we aren't grabbing on to these things and calling them us, calling them our personality and calling them ours. It's incredible what kind of change can happen when we're just human, when we're just alive, knowing that I'm alive and tons of a variety of experience moves through me. Hugely different. Now, the other thing, Sacha, I just want to point out, and how you ask this question, is and this makes sense, right? It's how we see things, but it's kind of comparing this person to that person. So you're saying, your question is really like, oh, some people seem like they just think depressed thoughts all the time naturally. Some people seem like they think happy, joyful thoughts all the time naturally. What's up with that? And yes, again, there are kind of differences, I'm sure. But where you are going to see some change, and this is for everyone, where we have the ability to see some change is not when we go out and compare what I'm thinking and feeling with what it looks like that person's thinking and feeling. That's going to be a gigantic trap. So when you say, it seems like other people's snow globes are always settled, and then other people's are constantly in motion, not really. We all have snow globes that sometimes are settled and sometimes are in motion. That's true of every one of us. And that's a better place to look. So what I'm saying is that we want to kind of see what we all have in common, how we all work in this way. We all have this internal snow globe, right? It goes up and down all the time. Does it stay up longer for some people? Sure. Does it stay down here for longer for some people? Sure. Does it dip down even deeper for some? Sure. But if you're comparing yourself with the person next to you on those terms, not going to go well. So First of all, because we have to be making it up. We don't really know what that person's feeling. And second of all, because the powerful place to look in this is what we all have in common, how we all work, because it's really, really similar. We all work in the exact same ways. And so, Sacha, for you, rather than thinking, and I'm putting words in your mouth because you didn't say this in your question, but I'm just pretend, like, rather than thinking, man, I seem to go toward this end of the spectrum all the time. I sure wish I could be at that end of the spectrum like those people. That's not going to do you very well, because what's going to happen is you're going to compare your feelings to how you're guessing they feel, and you're probably going to come up short. And then you're going to conclude, oh, okay, I guess I'm just a depressed person and there's not much hope for change for me. Wrong. It's just that we're looking in the wrong place. So rather than comparing out there for everyone, look within yourself. You want to see just your own snow globe. See how your own mind revs up, feels all kinds of stuff, comes back down. See how that happens all the time, all day, every day for you. See how for you, you can go from feeling one way to feeling another way. You didn't have to make that happen. It didn't ultimately affect you. It's like the thought, the feeling, the experience moving through you moves you around. Does it maybe move you over here more than over here? Fine. But even over here, it moves you. You move around. This is life doing this through you. You're not pulling strings. You don't have to make that happen. So the more we kind of see within ourselves, in research, it's like a between subjects experiment versus a within subjects experiment. We want to have a within subjects experiment here. We want to just see within yourself how things move. Because when you start looking out there, it's extremely messy, very, very biased, and no longer a good experiment. Stay within yourself. Notice how your own mind comes and goes. Your own feelings come and go. Notice how, as much as it might feel like you're this kind of person, you're a depressive kind of person or something, you have moments of the complete opposite of that. What's up with that? How does that happen? Maybe you're not so depressive. Maybe that's not the kind of person you are, given that you don't really do anything, and sometimes you're way at the other end. We want to kind of just look for the movement in that. Look for the exceptions to our theories and how we think we are. And that's where I see people really start to see a whole lot, when you kind of put up blinders to what's going on in other people's lives, because we don't know that anyway. And just notice how things move within you. One last quick point, Sacha. So you talk about, I know people can change because of neuroplasticity and all that kind of stuff. Again, keep in mind that what we're looking at here is deeper than neuroplasticity, because that's just how a brain changes. Can brains change? Absolutely. And you're right. It's totally remarkable that 30 years ago, everyone in science said brains can't change. I don't know the 30 years, but roughly around that, right? It has not been in our lifetime. In our lifetime, the common knowledge totally accepted is like, nope, past age, whatever, 10, 12, 15, you're cooked, you're done. Your capacity for change is very little. Turns out that's totally wrong. Like totally, totally wrong. Brains can change in amazing ways. So that is great. That is amazing stuff to know. But know that, again, that's just the conditioning can change. That's the conditioning and the thinking and the how our brain shapes and steers thought moving through us. That can change, which is great to know. But deeper than that, before the brain, before all that, is where we really start to get some leverage, where we really see the amazing, amazing capacity for change that all humans have. Because my brain can be talking about whatever it needs to talk about. And there are so many experiences of that I can have. And again, this is anyone who's seen through a habit or an addiction or anxiety or something like that knows exactly what I'm talking about. Your brain can be telling that same old story that it's always told. I need this. This is not okay. I'm anxious. I don't feel right. Look, whatever that story might be. And there are times when we are just in it. And there are times when we're not in it. There are times when we see, oh, there goes my brain again. There goes my mind again in that same old path, but I'm okay. So this is so much bigger than just the brain changing. And that really kind of rocket fuels our capacity for change in the ways that you're asking about. So thank you so much, Sacha, for this excellent question. I hope it's helpful. I'm sure it's helpful to a lot of people. And thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you back here next week.